Today we were very fortunate to have the wonderful opportunity to celebrate the Karmapa's birthday. And so for all of us us men and women who have faith in the Dharma, in particular all of us who are students of the Gyaltsen Karmapa, to be able to gather here at the Karmapa's seat was really wonderful and lovely and very enjoyable. And I feel for myself a wonderful thing to, especially wonderful to do. I especially feel like it is a good connection for all of us, and so I'm very delighted to have been here for this, and I'd like to thank you all for it. Now, in these instructions on Mahamudra meditation that we have by way of the Vajradhara lineage prayer, we have the three parts. There are the preliminaries, there's the main section, and then there is the conclusion or follow-through. And so of these, we are currently talking about the actual practice. And in the discussion of the actual practice, there is the discussion of the preliminaries and of the actual practice. With the preliminaries, so the common and the special preliminaries, and we've completed the discussion of these two. With the actual practice, there is a discussion of tranquility meditation and insight meditation. Yesterday, we finished the instructions on tranquility meditation. And so today we have the advice on the actual practice of insight meditation. Now, when we say insight meditation, basically we have the two types of obscurations, the afflictive and cognitive obscurations. The afflictive obscurations are all our thoughts of greed, hatred, and delusion. And the cognitive obscurations are primarily our strong fixation on things as being either something or being nothing, as existing or not existing. So when we fixate strongly on something as either being existent or as being non-existent, being nothing, that is what we call cognitive obscuration. And the way the only way to eliminate these two types of obscurations, what is it? There is no other way. Really what we need to do is we need to understand what the nature of things are. We need to understand in a way that fits with the nature of things and realize the nature of things. And so when we realize the nature of how things actually are, then we will see that all of our thoughts of greed, hatred, and delusion, and everything do not truly exist. And when we know that, then we will be able to eliminate all the afflictive and cognitive obscurations. It's like this. It's like if there's a rope and you mistake that rope for being a snake, and you think, oh no, that snake's going to come and get me, it's poisonous, and then you're all afraid of this snake. Does being afraid of the snake in that way help? It doesn't. It doesn't help to think about the snake in that way. What helps is to look and see what actually is there. And when you see that what is not a snake actually is not a snake, then you'll be free of any of the fear and suffering and difficulty that what you would have. And so, in this way, the rope, when you see the rope, there's actually no snake there. Similarly, when we look at the root of all of our suffering, and we realize the root of all of our suffering is clinging to a self, and when we see that our clinging to a self and the afflictions in actuality do not exist, and we know that they do not exist, then because of knowing that root, we will be able to see that the afflictive and cognitive obscurations do not truly exist, and will be able to eliminate them. And so for that reason, we need to know what the nature of things is and realize what the nature of things is. And in order to realize what the nature of things is, we can look either at external things or we can look at our internal mind. So here we don't just look at external things, but instead we look primarily at the nature of the mind to see what is the way the mind truly is. And when we see that when we look at the nature of the mind, we see that there is nothing that is a real nature. There's nothing that we can find there. So we can see that it has that aspect of being empty, but at the same time, its essence is clear and knowing. This is what we call the union of clarity and emptiness. And so the methods so that we can realize this as it is are the instructions on insight meditation. Now, in these instructions on Mahamudra, in this particular prayer, the Mahamudra Lineage prayer, when it gives the instructions on how to realize insight meditation as it is in the verse that reads on the page 2 of it, as is taught, the essence of thoughts is Dharmachakra. They are nothing whatsoever, and yet they arise, or they arise as anything. To the meditator who reflects on the unobstructed play of mind, grant your blessing that the inseparability of samsara and nirvana be realized. So when we say thought, generally, when we think about thought, that just means, the consciousness is in our minds, the coarse thoughts that we have, the thoughts of the afflictions, the thoughts, and the other coarse thoughts we have, the thoughts of clinging to things as being, clinging to things, clinging to the truth, clinging to, and so forth. And so there are various different thoughts, many different thoughts that occur. And when all of these different thoughts occur, do the thoughts themselves actually harm us? Actually, it's when we follow the thoughts. When we follow the thoughts, then we have greed, hatred, and delusion arise. Through the greed, hatred, and delusion, then we commit bad karma. And because then we commit karma. We perform the defiled karma, whether virtuous or unvirtuous, that then is the condition that causes us to wander in samsara. But if we look at the thought itself, if we look at what the thought is, what is it? Does it actually harm us? Actually, the essence of the thought itself cannot by its nature be established as anything. And so when we look at it, sometimes we have the thoughts of hatred. Sometimes we have thoughts of greed. Sometimes we have thoughts of delusion. Thoughts of greed and hatred have a sort of clear aspect. Thoughts of delusion have an unclear aspect. Sometimes we have thoughts of love, compassion, and other virtuous thoughts. But in any case, if we look at the essence of the thought itself, what is the essence of the thought? The essence of the thought is naturally empty. And this is something not that we need to infer through logic. Instead, it's something that it's not hidden from us ourselves. Our minds are not hidden from ourselves. And so we can just look and see, well, where is the thought? And then when we look for the thought, we cannot find anything that is established by its nature. And so if we look, then if there's a thought, then where is it? It must either be inside the body or outside the body. So is it inside the body? Is it outside the body? We need to examine it. And when we examine, this means that we just need to look directly at it. We look, and when we look for the thought, we cannot find anything there. When we look for a thought, we need to think, well, does it have a color or a shape? Does it not have a color or a shape? If it doesn't have a color or a shape, then what is it like? How is it something without a color or a shape? And so if you look for it and say, okay, here I found the essence of this thought, of this angry thought. I've found the essence of this greedy thought. I've found the essence of this coarse thought. And there's nothing that you can find anywhere, no matter how much you look, because the essence of the thoughts is naturally empty. When we realize that the essence of the thought is naturally empty, then is that just mere emptiness, blank emptiness, that is nothing else? Is it just mere nothingness, blank nothingness? It is not. Actually, it also has this clear and aware aspect. The clarity of the mind is unceasing. And so that is the nature of the Dharmachakra. So this is what we mean when we say the nature of thoughts, or the essence of thoughts, is the Dharmachakra. We have not realized the Dharmachakra, but if we look again and again at the nature of our mind, and we see it and we realize it, then we can experience the nature of thoughts as the Dharmachakra.
So
the first line says, the essence of thoughts is the Dharmakaya as it's taught. So it's taught that the essence of thought is the Dharmakaya. The next, the reason is taught. So this is the second line. Not anything at all, yet arising as anything. So they aren't anything at all, and they're arising in anything. So here it's taught in these first it's taught that they aren't anything, and then then second it's taught that they don't, that they arise as anything at all. So this is how it's taught, but it's actually easier to understand if you reverse the order of these. So the thoughts arise as anything at all. And so we have all sorts of different thoughts that occur. Thoughts of joy, thoughts of pleasure, thoughts of hatred. There are all sorts of appearances and thoughts that occur. The thoughts can arise as anything at all. And so these occur. But when they occur, are they something that is truly a thing? Are they definitely true? They aren't. They aren't anything at all. They're nothing whatsoever. And as I just said, if you look at the essence of hatred, then you can't find it anywhere. The hatred arises, you can feel it, it appears, but when if you follow it, then you get confused and mistaken. But if instead you look at the essence, then no matter where you look, where is it? The essence of it is empty. And it is the same with the essence of fear. It is the same with the essence of thoughts of fixation and greed. So the mind can arise as anything at all, and yet it is not anything. And so, in this way, the essence of thoughts, the essence of the mind is the Dharmakaya. This is the second line. And then next is the third line. So the essence is of the mind is emptiness, but it is also unobstructed play. To the meditator who reflects on the unobstructed play of the mind. So it is this unobstructed or unceasing, this play of the mind that never ceases. So this is the aspect of the mind. So the essence is empty, that emptiness is clear, and the clarity of that mind is unceasing. And so that is the essence of the mind. If we can know that essence of the mind and meditate upon it, then it will be as in the fourth line, grant your blessing that the inseparability of samsara and nirvana be realized. So if we realize this, then we will know that even though we wander in samsara, the essence of samsara is actually nirvana. And so that is teaching what the nature of the mind like. And this mind is like. And we need to realize this for ourselves. We need to manifest this nature of the mind ourselves. We need to each have and recognize the experience of the nature of the mind. And so, in general, as that said, we need to know, what is the mind? What are thoughts? What is the essence of the mind? What is the nature of the mind? What are the different classifications of mind? We need to know if we know what those are clearly, then that is very helpful. We can look at the nature of the mind more easily. So for that reason, the great scholars and masters of the past have taught that. For example, the seventh Karmapa, Chödok Gyatso, in his treatise on validity, the ocean of logical treatises, generally when you think about a treatise on validity, these primarily teach about conventional validity. This means basically how is it that conventional appearances arise or relative appearances arise? How do we know that something is true? How do we know that it's valid or how it's invalid? And so forth. So they primarily focus on the conventional validity. But in the seventh Karmapa, Chödok Gyatso's treatise on validity, he does, of course, present that conventional approach to validity, but he also uses that as the basis. We need to know how things are and develop certainty how things are and use our inference so that then we can have the basis, so that we can look at the way the nature of the mind is and practice Mahamudra. And so, for that reason, he taught about how the nature of the mind, the basis of the mind, is like. Now, so in this way, there are many different treatises on there are many different treatises on validity, but Chodo Gyatso's is our own particular tradition. And so in this, he teaches the way of the mind in a way so that we can more easily realize Mahamudra. So he taught about there being 8 consciousnesses. Now, when we look at the way the mind is, we talk about there being these 8 different consciousnesses, and then there also are 51 mental factors. Now, with the 8 consciousnesses, there are first the 5 sensory consciousnesses. There is the eye consciousness that sees form, the ear consciousness that hears sounds, the nose consciousness that smells scents, the tongue consciousness that tastes flavors, and the body consciousness that senses touch. So these are the 5 sense consciousnesses. Because we have these 5 senses, then there are the 5 consciousnesses there. And so because of these, we're able to see forms, hear sounds, smell scents, and so forth. Now, in these sensory consciousnesses, are there any coarse thoughts that happen in them? There are not. They're just a mere appearance. They're just merely knowing, mere appearance and mere knowing. And so, for that reason, in the validity texts, what it says is that these are non-conceptual consciousness. And so, because there are no coarse thoughts, that we say that there are no that it's non-conceptual, or that there are no thoughts. But even though there are non-thoughts, do appearances occur? There are appearances in the mind. But when we do our meditation, these consciousnesses do not harm us. They don't help us either. So what is the reason for this? Well, it is as the great yogin Naropa said, appearances don't bind us, it's fixation that binds us. And so when we see a form or something like that, it appears, but that appearance doesn't bind us in any way. It's the fixation on it that is that binds us. So Naropa said, appearances don't bind us. So just merely seeing something does not bind us. It's the fixation on it that binds us. Similarly, it says in the treatises on the middle way, it says the mere appearance is not what we're refuting. It's what we're refuting is the clinging to things as true. So just merely appearing, things merely appear, and there's no need to refute that. We see things with our eye, we hear things with our ear, and so forth. But when we do meditation, do we do Mahamudra meditation with our eye consciousness? Do we do Mahamudra meditation with our ear consciousness? Do we do Mahamudra meditation with our nose consciousness? Or do we do Mahamudra meditation with our tongue or our body consciousnesses? We don't. These are just appearances that occur. As Naropa said, the appearances don't bind. And so the appearances are not a problem. We just, there's knowing, but the appearances do not bind us. The second line of the song says, so cut your fixation, Naropa. So what is the root of our problem? It is the fixation. And where is that fixation? That fixation is in the 6th, the mental consciousness. That mental consciousness follows after the sensory consciousnesses. The eye sees something, and then there is a thought that follows after the eye consciousness. There's a thought that follows after the ear consciousness, a thought that follows after each of the 5 sensory consciousness. And so these are conceptual. These are the thoughts. These are the thoughts, oh, that's good. And then the thought, that's terrible. I want that, or the thought that I don't like that. So there are all these different thoughts that occur. So we see something, that thought occurs, we think about it, and then we experience feelings of pleasure or displeasure, and then we have those thoughts, then we perform actions, and because of the actions that we perform, we experience the resulting pleasure or unpleasant feelings. And so for that reason, it says, cut the thoughts, cut the fixation, Naropa. So we need to eliminate the fixation entirely. So we have many thoughts that occur. And when we talk about these in the treatises on validity, these are called conceptual consciousnesses, the conceptual thoughts. So there are many different thoughts we can have: thoughts of the past, thoughts of the present, thoughts of the future, thoughts of the three times. And so with all these thoughts that occur, when we are performing the tranquility or shamatha meditation, at that point we should try not to generate too many thoughts, and rather we should just try to rest naturally within tranquility. When we perform insight meditation, then we look at their essence. Where is the essence of that thought? When we see the essence, we see that it is emptiness. But that emptiness, is it nothing at all? Is it complete blankness? It is not. It is still the clear and aware knowing. But when we see that, is there anything there that can be truly established, that truly exists, that is hard and solid? There's nothing there that we can find that is like that. And so we need to see that, and we need to realize that as it is. So how is it that we can know the essence of the thoughts in the sixth mental consciousness? Well, the sixth mental consciousness, it's like waves. Waves just naturally happen. But if you look at it, where are they? Well, when you look at waves, they're not separate from the ocean in any way. The nature of the waves is just that they're part of the water. And so when we look, where is it that the sixth mental consciousness comes from? It's like the waves. They arise and they perish, they start and they stop, and we need to know what they are like properly. But actually, they are just occurring within the ground consciousness, and so they arise from the ground consciousness. The ground consciousness and the afflicted mind are stable. The five sensory consciousness and the sixth mental consciousness are unstable consciousnesses. They suddenly arise, they suddenly stop, they start and stop all the time. But the afflicted mind and the ground consciousness are stable. So the afflicted mind is just this aspect of clinging to self. And so when we do meditation, do we look at the essence of the afflicted mind? We don't. The afflicted mind is actually something that we need to eliminate. So how is it? What actually do we do with the meditation? Well, we do the meditation looking at the essence of the ground consciousness. Within the ground consciousness, it is within the ground consciousness that there are all the waves of the sixth mental consciousness occurring. And so when you realize that they're naturally pacified, then they sink back down and disappear back into the ground consciousness. And so that is the essence of the ground consciousness. And the essence of the ground consciousness is that it is just clear and aware. Does that clear awareness ever stop? Is it ever interrupted? It doesn't ever not stop. Like the sixth mental consciousness, it starts, it stops, it has interruptions and stops all the time. But the just mere clarity, the mere clarity of the mind, that is the mere clear aspect of the ground consciousness. And that doesn't have any stopping, it doesn't have any increase or anything. It's just mere clarity. So when we say clarity or luminosity, you might think it means light, but we don't mean anything to do with light. When we say clarity or luminosity, what we really mean is just the understanding, the knowing, the awareness of the mind. That aspect, the knowing aspect, that's what we call the clear awareness. And what is the essence of that clear awareness like? Its essence is empty. Its essence is naturally empty. Since we do not know that the nature of that clear, or if we do not know that the essence of that clear awareness is empty, then we are confused and we wander in samsara. But if we know that, then it just disappears back into the ground consciousness. The sixth mental consciousness then disappears and dissipates into the ground consciousness. And so this is what is described in this treatise on validity. So this is what is taught in the seventh Karmapa's ocean of logical literature. And so when we read this, we can develop an understanding. And so when we have an understanding, then you have three things. We have understanding, experience, and realization. So you have, when you read this, then you can develop the understanding and say, that's what it's like, and then you can meditate it and you can develop an experience. So when you say experience and realizing, what is that? So we have first that understanding, then on the basis of that understanding we practice, and through practicing then we develop an experience. And so it's like this feeling in our mind, that's what it's like, that's how it is, this is an experience of it. And so when we have that experience, and then we experience that experience over and over again, then we develop realization. So realization, when we say realization, that's knowing, this is how it is, that's what it's like, and knowing for sure, having the experience, having the strong experience of that, and knowing, that is what we mean by realization. And so in this way we have these, and so when we meditate over and over on an experience, then we develop the realization. And so here what I've explained is just the understanding. And then you take this understanding and you practice it. And by practicing, you'll develop experience. And with that experience, by feeling the experience over and over again, then you will develop realization. And so that is how the essence of insight is taught. So that is the explanation of the meaning of the verse on insight meditation. And following that comes the conclusion, the aspiration. And so the aspiration has two parts. It has a part about how we should conduct ourselves and a part about the result. And so for the first two lines, through all my births may I not be separated from the perfect Lama and so enjoy the glory of Dharma. This is the part on the conduct. And the second part, may I completely accomplish the qualities of the paths and stages and quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. This is about the result. So first we have the part about the conduct. And in the conduct, so for the conduct, we first have, we have the preliminaries, then we have the actual practice and the insight meditation, and then we need to develop this insight meditation. And what do we need to develop? In order to develop it, we need to, in all of our births, in all of our lifetimes, so from lifetime after lifetime, we need to be able to practice the Dharma and meditate. And so, for that reason, through all my births, we need to be able to be not separated from the Dharma. But what do we need so that we can never be separated from the Dharma? We need to be never separated from the Lama. And what sort of a Lama? We need the perfect Lama, the Lama who can teach us the Dharma, who knows and who can teach us the Dharma. That is the type of Lama, the wonderful Lama. And so we need to never be apart from the Lama. So when we think about never being separated or never being apart from the Lama, well, what does that mean, never separated from the Lama? Well, if you think about the life of Milarepa, Milarepa spent in the first, he generally followed the Lama Marpa. And when he followed Marpa, he spent the first half of his life receiving instructions from him, listening to them, and practicing them. And then during the second part of his life, he wasn't with Marpa, he wasn't studying with Marpa, he went to someplace else. So you might say, he wasn't not apart from that. But actually, that's not how it was. There's, being apart with your body and being apart with your mind. And so he was never apart with his mind. And so how is it that he was never apart? It's when you follow a Lama, then it doesn't mean that you're always with the Lama. It means that you remember the instructions. If he had the instructions, he always remembered the instructions and practiced those instructions. And so in this way, he was never separated from his Lama. He never forgot the instructions until such time as he passed into nirvana. And so in this way, in terms of his mind, he was never separated from his Lama. And so that is what we mean by never being separated from the Lama. So when we say never being separated from the Lama, how should we be? It doesn't mean that we need to always have meals with the Lama and always chat with the Lama and so forth. Never being separated, the reason why we should never be separated is so that we can enjoy the glory of the Dharma. And so enjoying the glory of the Dharma means that we get the Dharma teachings, we listen to them, we practice them. That's the glory of the Dharma. And if we do that, then we will never be separate from the Lama. We'll enjoy this, and through enjoying this and never being separated from it, we'll come to the ultimate results. And so in this way, we should never be separated from our practice. And if we do this, and so we need to be like this in order that we can achieve the ultimate results. And so this is the way we should conduct ourselves when we practice the Dharma. And then when we practice the Dharma in this way, what is the result of it? The result is that may I accomplish the qualities of the paths and stages. And so you go through the 10 stages and the 5 paths and gradually progress through them. To make it easy to understand what it means is that you'll have experience and realization that it'll get stronger and stronger. The roots of your virtue will get more and more stable, and eventually you will reach the state of Vajradhara, quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. So here it says, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. But it's not just a may sort of thing. It's like, if you practice, you definitely will achieve the results, of the ultimate results. So that's enough for our session this afternoon. And the reason for that is that today is our last session, and often in the last session, students are in a little bit of a hurry. And the reason that students are in a hurry is that people in the West are very good, they're very diligent about their Dharma practice and making time to practice the Dharma, and they're very skilled at making this time, but that comes a time when you have to go to the office on Monday morning and you're thinking about how you have to get back and do that. So if you are late to the office on Monday morning, that is not okay. So you all need to go back to wherever you came from. So a lot of people have a lot of worries about this, and I know about these worries. And so I'm going to leave that as enough for now. But as Khenpo Kato Rinpoche said before, as he said to all of you, we have the great hope that this year the Gyaltsen Karmapa will be able to come here, and this is really fortunate to have this opportunity. As Khenpo Rinpoche said, this is a great opportunity for us to support this, and it is very important for us to support this. And so, please don't forget what Khenpo Rinpoche has said, and please do what you can to give support to this, whether working or giving in other ways. If you do this is something that will be very beneficial for yourself. It'll be very helpful for the Dharma. It'll help the Dharma remain for a long time and help the Dharma spread and flourish. So please do not forget this. If you can support this Dharma Center KTD, that is very good. Or if you support it, whatever you do, it is very important for you to support. And so, as I said before, I'm really delighted to have this opportunity to make a connection with you through the Dharma. I feel it's very fortunate for me. And so I'd like to make the aspiration that all of you, that what I have taught you be of benefit to all of you. And that all of you may be able to bring your Dharma practice to the ultimate result, and that it be of benefit to you. I also make the aspiration that the Dharma spread and that the Dharma flourish, and that there be no more famine, illness, or war in this world. That all the famine, illness, and war be quelled. And so I'd like to make this, ask you to also make this aspiration. There are many places in the world where there's many great sufferings and many natural disasters. And when there are natural disasters that come, it brings great pain and suffering for many beings. So please make the aspiration that there be no more natural disasters. Please also make the aspiration that all of the suffering of illness and of famine and of war be pacified. And so I ask that you please make these prayers.